good to go. Here we are, New Japan Pro Wrestling, 1987. Going up against Keiji Muda, the Great Muda. Going to reversal here. Hammerlock. He knows what I'm going to do if he reverses this, of course. And there it is again. I learned that from Steve Austin, even though he did it maybe 5-6 years later. And then I learned it from Johnny Ace, even though he did it 2 years after this. And for some reason, I did it to Johnny Ace, and then he invented it after I did it to him. But anyway, that's beside the point. Everybody knows. Okay, I loved working with the Great Muda. Keiji Muda. We used to hang around a lot in Florida wrestling when he first came to Florida here in 1986. I traveled with him and Ken Nagasaki every night with me and Sir Oliver Humperdinck, great guy. We had a lot of fun together. I'll tell you some funny, crazy stories about Muda. He may not like me telling them, but they're funny. But anyway, this town right now, I believe this may be at Korakuen Hall. I'm not positive, though. We traveled so much over there. It was so long ago. Tackle. Hip toss. I don't know what's going to happen because I can't remember. I remember he drop kicked me and I wanted to make it look really good, so I let him hit me right in the nose. That's why that arm drag, I'm half out of it right there, and you can see me touching my nose. My nose is bleeding because I took it hard way. Because in Japan, you don't put your hand up. You want to make it look as legitimate as possible. And there you see on the outside of the ring was Brian Adams. He was being trained there in the dojo, one of the young boys. Brian Adams was later Crush from Demolition. I believe his name was Crush. Was that his name?
I think
Demolition. He was one of the Demolition, though. Brian Adams, and he was later in WCW with Brian Clark. He was a great guy. I hung around him a lot in Japan on this tour. He actually lived there, like I said, with the dojo, so he could speak a little more Japanese than I, and he would order for me some of the towns we'd go to where they spoke no English. So I didn't want to end up getting some animal that was something that I would not like to eat, if you know what I mean. Here's the move here I wish I would have kept doing because I thought it was a pretty good move there. I don't know what it was called, but forgot to keep doing that. There we go. I can't remember his name, but I remember Dick Murdoch used to call him Hop Sing from the Bonanza show. I don't think the referee liked that too much, but what they going to say to Dick Murdoch? Nobody said much of anything to Dick Murdoch. So that referee was always called Hop Sing, who was the cook on the Bonanza show with Hoss Cartwright and all the Bonanza crew. Pretty funny if you've ever seen the show. Here comes some Dory Funk forearms. I love those look and feel good, especially if Dory gives them to you. This was a long match, and I remember at that time, for some reason, I didn't realize the altitude difference between America and Japan. So it would take a week or two wrestling every night before we could actually breathe like the Japanese could. So you would be blown up very fast when you first got to Japan. And I must have first got there on this tour because I remember I was half dead at about the 10-minute mark. I think it went about 10 minutes, this match. Can't remember, but I know it seemed like forever because, like I said, I had just arrived there and the altitude is so high that the Americans get really tired quick. Takes a couple weeks before you adjust to it. So now we're going outside here a little bit. This is about 1987, I believe. Other wrestlers on this tour were Rick Steiner's first tour. Dr. Steve Williams was there. Chris Benoit, I believe, was one of the young boys too. I think the Sheepherders were on this tour. George Wells. And some other people too, I can't recall at this time, but a lot of people were on that tour. A lot of Americans. Okay, here goes Muta. Is getting ready to do his handspring elbow. I'm getting ready to give him a very stiff clothesline. I remember first time I wrestled Muto, first time he ever came to America in Florida, they put him against me, and I hadn't been to Japan yet at that time, so he was trying to do that Japanese style with me, and he was very stiff, and I got very mad and hooked him, and Bill Alfonso was the referee and said, "Don't mess around with the Jerry Green boy, you get stretched." So then he loosened up a little bit. I remember they loved it. This is my second tour of Japan, I believe. They loved it because I started using a lot of their moves. I was using the Scorpion Deathlock there. I was using crooked head scissors, a lot of their different moves, and they really liked it, the Japanese office, because I started doing their style. Here's a move that I hated doing because I hated when they did it to me, and they always jammed my vertebrae and broke my neck, so I would always be too easy like Dusty Rhodes and not drop them on their head. So I don't like doing pile drivers. So I can do a tombstone perfectly, but I just always feel uncomfortable to jump up and drop somebody on their head, because I know when Fujinami did it to me, it jammed and crushed my vertebrae and my neck. That doesn't mean I stopped wrestling. Of course, I kept wrestling the whole tour. Never went to the doctor. That's the way you did it back then, because you don't get paid if you don't wrestle. So Muta, yeah, I worked with him so many times. I can't even remember how many times. A lot in Florida. He didn't speak good English at all in the 86 when he was in Florida. That whole year I rode with him in Kendo Nagasaki, me and Humperdinck, like I said. And they were always, and I hadn't been to Japan yet. I went in 86 the first time, but before that, they would bring on the trips, Kendo Nagasaki and Muta would bring funky stuff like raw eel and all kinds of things, and me and Humperdinck would just sit in the back seat and say, there's the crooked head scissors right there. I love that move. You can actually really put someone out with that move with a carotid artery. That's a good Japanese style move. But anyway, they would bring some weird stuff in the car in Florida on our trips. And one time me and Humperdinck were smoking a little weed, and we talked Muta into taking a couple hits. And he had never done anything like that. So he tried it. And then about 30 minutes later, he wanted to pull the car over to throw up. And he said he feels crazy, and he was very upset with us. So then the next night, he brought the raw eel to us and said, now you do. You make me do this. You do this. You take this. So we said, nah. Humperdinck said, nah, get out. The way Humperdinck talked. And we said, no. Get that shit out of here. Anyway, pretty funny. So Muta never trusted us again after that to take any of our funny cigarettes. Anyway, he always tried to get us to eat that weird crap though. But Sakurada-san, Kendo Nagasaki, was an excellent cook though. I did taste some of his. So we look at that German suplex. Beautiful. And thank God I landed perfectly too. Good move. So this is where I was getting a pretty good push, because Muta was a huge name, and he always did his moonsault after the backbreaker right here. But they actually can hear the crowd actually coming up. In Japan, they don't really pop big, but then he didn't get to do the moonsault. I pulled him off, came off the top. He comes up with a suplex off the top, and there is the Pirate, Bob Orton Jr. So this was a no contest. It wasn't disqualification. It ended up being a draw, no contest. So actually, that was a good push for me on television to not be beaten by the Great Muta. It was a no contest draw. And they teamed up a little bit there. Me and, I forget what they called him, but that was actually Bob Orton. Funny story is, the reason Bob Orton Jr. had to wear that outfit is because he had beaten the crap out of the Mafia, the Yakuza, the gangsters, a couple tours before that. He didn't know that's who they were. Him and Chris Adams in a bar fight beat up a bunch of Mafia gangsters. And they said if you come back to Japan, something's going to happen. So he came back as a masked man, even though his name was huge as Bob Orton Jr., and he was pretty scared to go to that exact town where that happened. There's Brian Adams right there in the background. But Bob Orton Jr. was pretty nervous when we'd go to that town. He kept his outfit on and the bus everywhere the whole time, that hockey mask. And Dick Murdoch was with us too, and Orton wasn't happy to be in that town. Actually, I think they didn't even go to that town. They left him at the Kyo Plaza in Tokyo when we went to the town where all this big mess happened with the Mafia. So that was a pretty crazy story. That was a good match there, but there's another one coming, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned here. I'm going to get to this next match. Is even, in my opinion, it's even better than this match. It's coming up right now. Passed away not too long ago, a year ago, I believe. And the great Kendo Nagasaki. And we are going up against the greatest of all time right there. Antonio Inoki, George Takano, and Tatsuma Fujinami. See the customs there. The girls, they give you the flowers before the match. And as the young boys take them, there's Tatsuma Fujinami right there. This was the main event. I was in a lot of main events over there and tagged with people like Dick Murdoch, Bob Orton Jr., Dr. Death, Steve Williams, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, you name it. And always against Antonio Inoki or Akira Maeda. I always worked with one of those, or even Tatsuma Fujinami a lot, and Takada a lot too. Here we come now with our manager, Wakamatsu, who was a famous manager also in Calgary. Right there he is. He managed for the Stu Hart for a long time. And there's Kendo Nagasaki. There I am. And there, Mr. Pogo, I believe, was in the front. There's the referee, Peter Takahashi, I believe his name was. So this match here, there's the great Antonio Inoki. Look at him. He is by far the biggest star ever in Japan. Over everyone. Bigger than Hulk Hogan, bigger than anyone ever. What a pleasure to be in the ring with him so many times. And he actually spoke with me many times in private, gave me advice. Kendo Nagasaki, a real good friend, like I was saying before. All the trips we made together. George Takano right there is a nice guy. And here we go. There he is. Listen to the people. Inoki, the man that fought Muhammad Ali in a shoot where they were both scared of each other pretty much, so it ended up being not much of a match, but he couldn't trust to stand up and let Ali knock him out, and Ali didn't want Inoki to get hold of him, so they both respected each other so much that it ended up being where they rarely touched in the whole match.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, so
just kicked the snot out of his knees the whole time.
They say it ended Ali's boxing career because he had so many blood clots in his knee and ruined his knees. So look at how fast this style is here. I love this. This is what you call the way wrestling should be. Technical wrestling. See, it's almost half shoot. I mean, he tried to do that. And I blocked it, and that was not planned at all. Believe me, you just take what you can get over there. Bruiser Brody told me that my first tour there. Fight these guys because they're going to test you. When it's a pecking order, you got to fight for your spot.
I like that kind of arm drag.
Yeah, that's like
where it's like sweep when it like sweeps like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different. See how fast it is, just non-stop tag. It's not like the psychology in America. This is just like a real fight. See, he's not gonna stay over there because he knows we're gonna take over on him and eat him up. So Ken Nagasaki is a great worker too. So there was George Takana. He used to be the Cobra. He was a big name there as the Cobra, Black Cobra, I believe. He was a champion. Ken Nagasaki was Mr. Sakurada before this for many years. I believe he started in like 1974 or 72. There's Mr. Pogo. He was a big name in Florida and a lot of different territories. He's the one that started one of the hardcore federations over there in Japan. See, I don't know if that's before Jimmy Hart or not, where that our manager Wakamatsu has a megaphone, I believe. Might have been around the same time that Jimmy Hart started doing that too. Okay, so Mr. Pogo, yeah, he was a pretty funny guy. Yeah, he was on the tour bus with us too. They rode with us. The Japanese had their own tour buses and the Americans had their own, but for some reason they had Pogo and Ken Nagasaki were on our bus with us, so because they were heels, they're considered heels. Because they didn't live in Japan anymore, they just toured there like us Americans. Oh, I bet you Inuki didn't like that. He just did Inuki's kick to the back of the head. I didn't go too high there, but high as I could go. There's Fujinami. This guy is lightning fast. I loved working with him. Tackle drop down. He could understand English pretty good too. Look how fast he is. Tackle drop down, drop kick me, and headlock takedown, head scissors. I'm already blown up thinking about this. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that was non-stop, definitely. Okay, let's see here. Let's get some heat. The crowd's pretty loud for a Japanese back in
I was noticing that.
1987, yeah.
Usually they're a lot quieter.
Yeah, I don't remember what town this was. I remember it was not like a regular town. It was far away. I can't remember the name of the city there. There's Ken Nagasaki. I thought he was going to do he's doing a high spot here. He reminds me a lot of Dory Funk Jr. I think that's who he really idolized. Ken Nagasaki, if you watch him, his style's a lot like Dory Funk when he takes arm drags and stuff like that. Even sells like him. He's faster, but he sells a lot like Dory Funk.
A fast Dory.
If you watch him.
This sounds fantastic.
Yeah, if you watch Kendo though, you can just tell he had a lot of advice or training from Dory. Here comes one of Kendo's. Well, he takes a good backdrop. I was hoping he was going to take his backdrop. I remember a funny story about Kendo. He has the haircut like that. He used to wear a toupee. There's Inuki. Look at him. He's going to get that Cobra twist on him. That's what he beat Johnny Powers with in 1973 for the NWF World Heavyweight Championship. He bought that Cleveland promotion from Johnny Powers to get some, he wanted to get over in the United States too, so he bought his own federation from Johnny Powers, and they named it for a while there. It was NWF, New Japan Pro Wrestling, NWF World Champion. That's the hold he used back then for his finish, the Cobra Twist, he called it. It's kind of a version of the Abominable Stretch. Here comes Mr. Pogo. He used to have a shaved head. Well, I used to see him when I was younger, and he was a lot heavier. Scary looking dude back then. That was a good move.
Yeah, look
Breaking the leg like that.
Yeah.
The Nookie's back in already. Uh-oh. I get to punch the great Antonio Inoki. Oh my God. Look at this. Muhammad Ali. Didn't get to do that much to him. I'm privileged.
Would have been a better match
Look
if
at Inoki.
Muhammad Ali would have got to do something.
Yeah, look at that. Inoki. Oh, I think I'm getting ready to do that. He loved this. He always told me to do this after that. Yep, there it is. Up, down, down, turnbuckle. Inoki like that. He's even clapping for me, watching me. Yeah, he likes it. He always told me after that. Upside down, upside down. He liked that. He even gave me the slap in the face. I didn't know it was a respect thing. He gave me the slap in the face. The slap of Inoki's power. He transfers his power, his godlike power, to you when he slaps you in the face. Because he slapped the shit out of me one night, me and Dr. Death, because I tore my ligaments in my leg in a match with Makura Maeda. It was just an accident. Me and Rick Steiner against Maeda and Takada. And I turned the wrong way and snapped my leg that I already had bad knees anyway. But anyway, I kept limping through the whole tour. And just taped my leg up and kept limping, and I didn't go home, of course. And then Inoki respected that, I guess. And then after the next time I was in the ring with him on that tour, with my leg limping everywhere, me and Dr. Death against him and Sakaguchi, Inoki slapped the living shit out of me. And then I found out that means he likes you. That's respect. He's giving you his respect, transferring his respect to you, his power to you. So they've had like 100 people standing in the ring in lines waiting to get slapped by Inoki. It's on YouTube. You can see it, ladies and gentlemen. People like Fujiwara, Fujinami standing in line to get Inoki to slap them in the face. I never heard anything like it, but that's the thing.
Sounds like some weird stuff to me.
That's the thing that's going on. He did this to me though, back in '87. I know the gangsters, the Yakuza, used to do that too, slap people in the face when they respected them. So there's Brian Adams out there again, the young boys, the guys that were being trained would kneel on the side of the ring to watch the matches and see him out there with the red tracksuit on.
Yeah.
He's out there. I think he was the only American young boy at that time. The tour before that, it was Chris Benoit and Daryl Peterson. Was later Max Payne. And I remember the name he used, Man Mountain.
Oh, Man
Rock.
Mountain Rock. Yeah.
Yeah, they were the young boys the year before this. So now we're getting the heat on, is that Takada? I mean, Fujin, no, who's that? That's a Nookie back in there again. Kendo's like, oh God, don't stretch me. Inoki's selling a lot this match, more than usual. There's my nice boots. They don't look like that anymore.
No. Those are the first boots I remember seeing on you like 25 years ago.
I have them still. Jeez.
Yeah. With duct tape all over them, holding them together.
No. No, I think that's the ones you wore, I think. Remember?
Maybe, yeah.
That's one of the Green Machine gimmicks or something. War Machine.
Yeah, maybe War Machine.
So now we got him in. No, that's they tag in and out so quick. It's different style. There's no heat. I mean, you don't keep a guy and get the heat and finally a hot tag over there. Those are some nice stiff forearms. Jesus. That hurt my arms.
Jesus.
I'm trying to tell him something. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay. Good.
Oh,
See, they run so good and fast. I love it. They look good when they run into the ropes and nail them, and it's not slow motion crap. I'm tired already just watching all this stuff we're doing. Man, it's not. And that ring is hard as a rock. Like I said, because I heard that they took the spring out because it made it look fake, they said, when it bounced. So it's just pretty much a boxing ring style. Look at this beautiful pile driver Kendo does. I don't know how it felt, but it's beautiful.
Look good.
It looked pretty. Jam neck time for me. I know when they gave me a pile driver there, every time I ever had one, my neck was jammed and popped like 5 times each time they did it. So I'm like 4 inches shorter. So I would always protect myself after the first time I let Fujinami pile drive me. I mean, I thought I was broken neck for sure after that first one. Beautiful splash. Who was that? George Takano, yeah. Good. Kendo takes it good. He didn't have a choice taking that drop kick.
He was going to take it.
He takes a good backdrop. I don't think he's ever going to take one. He just keeps getting them 1,000 drop kicks. Man. Beating the crap out of Kendo. Come on, Kendo. Tag us. There we got him. Now we're going to get the heat on him, I guess. More. And this is a big thing here, too. Oh, there, I love that. That was my finish moves. A lot of times the neck breaker. Fujinami came in and saved it. They like that over there. It's different than America. They would boo you here, but they cheer there when you do a save. Save from a false finish. But this was a big honor here, too, because Mr. Pogo and Ken Nagasaki are huge stars here. And they go by whoever loses the fall or gets pinned is usually, they're trying to protect the other guy. And this was a huge honor because they actually beat him right here. They beat Mr. Pogo instead of, I thought it'd be me, the American, and you know, they were big stars there for years and years. They actually beat him though. You'll see here in a minute. Anuki beats him right here pretty soon. There goes the abdominal stretch, a beautiful abdominal stretch. We go into a 6-way here. He's going to pin him right here with his, his bow and arrow right there. He gets him in. See? He submits right here. So that was a big honor.
Wow.
I remember he didn't like it either. He didn't like having to do the job, so that's what the boss wanted. He's the boss right there, Mr. Anuki, the greatest Japanese of all time. So we will see you, ladies and gentlemen, the next time on The Ring, The Ribs, and The Road. And there wasn't too many ribs in Japan, but I told you a few funny stories about Bob Orton Jr. and beating the Mafia up and have to come back with the hockey mask, and Muda smoking the funny stuff and getting mad at me and Charlie Humperdinck. But there's going to be a lot more. This is just a sample. There's a lot more to come, ladies and gentlemen. See you next time.